The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. Welcome to the Lemonade Car Show, brought to you by OMVIC and Krown. I'm your host, Lorraine Sommerfeld. I'm joined by Trevor Hutcheson with Krown Rust Proofing, and Chris Muir, who's always here anyway, so that's just fine. He's our mechanic. I love rust proofing. I know I say that about every subject, but I mean it this time. You sponsor us, so I'm very familiar with your product, but especially, actually any time of year, because your boss and owner, Freeman, says that a lot of people have a misconception about when they should rust proof, but we'll get to that in a moment. Krown Rust Proofing, why should we? You do a drip oil.
We do.
Let's walk through the different kinds of rust proofing so people know the differences between them.
Yeah, and that's a good place to start, Lorraine, because really there's only two types of rust proofing. You either have something that's considered a permanent coating that you would put on once. I'll give you an example. Paint on your car is a form of rust protection. Our vehicles are painted to prevent rust, first of all, and secondarily because of the aesthetics. But then you have products that are like tars, black undercoating products. So that's kind of the permanent coatings. And then you have products like ours that are oil-based or water-based products that are temporary coatings. And so the idea is you would have to reapply them at some interval.
Okay, and Chris, we've talked before, when people get rust proofing done when they buy a car, cars come with warranty against rust if you do nothing to them, like there is some years. We'll put that aside because it's not enough.
No.
But the one that they put underneath can trap. Talk about that.
Yeah, and that's the permanent rust proofing that was being alluded to. It's a tar or a wax-based rust proofing, and it covers the panel, and so long as that isn't permeated or gone through, it does a pretty good job. But the problem is, as soon as you get a little hole in it, that piece of metal that is now exposed begins to corrode, and the corrosion actually slips between the layers, so it goes underneath the rust proofing, trapping even more moisture in it and exacerbating the actual rusting of the panel.
This is why I like the drip oil. You apply it once a year, and it is a yearly thing that you do, and it gets around that problem of something cracking because it's old. Because the problem is, once you do rust proofing like that, you have to do it once and you never look at it again. And so all this stuff's going on, whereas if we come in once a year, we're going to look at it.
That's right. It's trying to change people's mentality that doing corrosion protection is actually maintenance. Like if you put on something black underneath a vehicle, it's not rust protection, it's an undercoating. It's sound deadening, really. But it's not maintenance. Good rust protection, and what Krown does is we apply it not just to the underside of the vehicle, but really to rocker panels, fenders, inside the doors. It's really designed to prevent rust from occurring from the inside out of a vehicle. So it's a very different process.
A lot of people will write to me or they'll call and they say, I went to Krown and they drill holes in my car. And the dealer said that's going to void the warranty. I know that's BS because your boss has told me that's BS. And you do drill holes, because I've done rust proofing at your main facility and I drilled the holes myself and it terrified me. And that little wand thing, but I did it. It was really fun. You do drill holes. Yeah. Why shouldn't people freak out?
Well, I completely understand. If you spent $40,000 on a new vehicle and you come in and you go, I realize I need to protect it, and now you're going to add holes. And believe me, we don't want to add more holes than we need to, but because we put a warranty on the vehicle to properly access all the areas of the vehicle that we know need to be protected, we have to add some holes to it. But we warranty that. If we put a hole in the vehicle, we're protecting it. And when someone says if you drill holes it'll void your warranty, well, that's not necessarily true. What it is a manufacturer doesn't want to be responsible for somebody else's workmanship. So if they mess it up, they should be responsible for it.
It's the same as if you put an aftermarket stereo system, though.
Exactly.
So it's the same. And you put little plug things in.
Yep.
And you can't tell people. You can't tell, like they do it in spots. And you have schematics for every car on the market, so you know exactly where to put these holes and where to put the drippy stuff.
Yeah, the drippy, that's the technical term.
Yes.
It's the drippy stuff. But no, that's exactly it. Like there's over 1,400 different model types of vehicles that are out on the road. But 90% of them fall into a very standard general vehicle type.
SUV.
SUV, minivan, right? And so accessing it is not that difficult. But there are specialty vehicles that have special boxed-in sections, side impact beams in the doors made us change the way that we access it. So it is important that you know what you're doing. You just don't want to have somebody that says, yeah, I'm going to pop some holes in and put a rust proofing in. You wouldn't
Hope
want
for the
that
best.
to happen. Yeah, that's not what you want to do with a brand new vehicle or a vehicle that's 10 years old. It's still your vehicle, so you want to look after it and maintain it the proper way.
I've also had people say to me, I did the drip oil like you said, Lorraine, because obviously not my children, they don't listen to me. And they go, the stuff dripped on the driveway, and I go, no, it does come down a little bit for a few days afterwards. There's a little bit of aftermath that's coming out, but it stops. And it was Freeman that said, Tide detergent will get it out of your, wash your clothes and if there is anything.
Well, our philosophy is that if it doesn't drip or creep, it won't get into the areas you need to get it to work. Because again, Krown's a great product, but it's only as good as it's applied.
So we want Krown Creep. We're going to come back and talk about that after this break. We'll be back with more lemonade. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. Welcome back to the Lemonade Car Show. I'm your host, Lorraine Sommerfeld. I'm here with Trevor Hutcheson from Krown
Rust Control?
Krown Rust Control. I got this. Chris Muir is our mechanic. Sorry, I get so excited talking about rust proofing. We've talked about drilling holes and going into the panels and the rocker panels. And I do want to talk to Chris, though, because you've got cars up on the hoist as well, and you see what happens if we don't do some kind of remedial work with the rust proofing. It's not just about the rust you see on the side of cars.
No, not at all. Not at all. You get underneath the car, and I mean, a lot of the structure, getting in there, getting a protective coating inside of the structure of the vehicle is paramount to its longevity. The other thing that I want to touch on is fuel lines, brake lines, anything that is metal. If we can get a coating on it, we are going to make it last longer, as well as the wiring in the vehicle. We have a lot of connections inside of a vehicle, be it a ground path or the bottom of a fuse block, that has exposed electrical terminals, and they are made of a metal that will corrode. So getting them coated with something like a Krown or similar oil-based rust protection can save you quite a bit of money in the long run. Just making sure that those electrical connections are protected from the elements.
I think we get, I don't know if it's a misconception, but we kind of get lulled because now we're using more plastics in cars and different materials. And remember, you could always see rust on a car. They'd go by rust buckets. Remember, everyone had issues.
Yeah.
That's been solved for the most part, except for Mazda 3s. I'm so sorry, but there was one in my driveway for a few years. So because we're not seeing the corrosion on the outside, normally we don't understand. It's starting inside from the day that car is built almost. We took a bumper off a new car and there was rust around the posts that go on. So even though you've got all these different metals and they're coated different ways at the factory, they're computer stuff underneath that needs to be protected from our winters. And you can describe the stuff on our roads.
Yeah.
Sticky.
Well, it used to be that we used what they called sodium chloride or rock salt, right? And rock salt would be spread, it bounces on the road, some stays on, some goes on to the shoulder. Now they're using magnesium and calcium chloride.
And beet juice.
Yeah.
I just love saying beet juice every year. Okay.
Well, and the reason they use beet juice is they use it to add like a tackifier to it so it stays on the road. But when that washes up underneath our vehicle, it gets onto braking components, as Chris was saying, brake lines, fuel lines. And what happens is that when the moisture comes up, it starts to corrode, and it's corroding at a much accelerated rate. So although manufacturing's getting better, they're dealing with different environmental factors, and that's why we're having an even worse corrosion issue than we were 10 or 15 years ago.
So if it sticks to the road, it sticks to your car.
Yeah. And just like it sticks to the road with water, it sticks to your car with water as well, so it's harder to wash off once it's on there.
Speaking of washing off, do you recommend going through a car wash regularly, even in the winter? I do not do this. I'm lazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you look at corrosion protection and you look at the importance of cleaning is half your battle. If you're able to clean out and remove some dirt, some mud from the wheel well, you're halfway there. The challenge is in the winter is that when we go through a car wash and it's got an underbody wash and we wash up, your spring water, in essence, then you're activating these chlorides, as Chris was saying, that water activates it on the metal. So you're starting the corrosion process.
So what do we do?
Every night.
Wash it or not wash? I asked you an easy question.
Yeah. Well, you thought it was an easy question, right? So the thing is that if you maintain it, definitely wash it. The thing is, if you're not doing some type of preventative maintenance with corrosion control,
Don't put water on it.
don't put water on it because you will activate this. And the fact is, in the winter, when it's cold, when we're cold, we get 10 below. Corrosion is virtually dormant. Think about metal like your skin. Your skin has pores. Well, metal has pores. When it's cold, the pores of this metal are tight, they're closed, won't corrode. When it's warmed, the pores open up, and these chlorides embed themselves, and the moisture activates it. And that's why we see corrosion occurring in the spring 70% more than we do in the fall or the winter.
And the last few years that Freeman's been on, Freeman Young, he's been saying that spring is a good time. Everyone rushes now, and there's lineups because
Want to do it before winter,
perception
before the snow
winter.
comes?
But waiting till spring is not, or doing it previous spring is not a bad idea.
Well, professional operators, most commercial operators with fleets and that do their preventative maintenance in the spring for that very reason, is that they clean up their equipment, they wash it, they do an inspection on the chassis and the coatings, and then they crown it at that point because they know that's when it's the best time to do it.
Actually, you know what? We don't have time in this segment, but I am going to talk about those electronic boxes that people, because we get so much mail and people asking about those questions all the time. So when we come back after this break, we're going to put that myth to bed. Guess which side I'm on? We'll be back with more Lemonade after this short break. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. Welcome back to the Lemonade Car Show, brought to you by Krown, OMVIC, Hotspot Auto, and Sound Insurance. I'm joined today by Trevor Hutcheson with Krown Rust Proofing and Chris Muir, our mechanic. Before we went to break, I brought up the concept of those electric boxes because we hear about it all the time, all the time. I say they're absolute garbage, and I have to say, in my opinion, so that nobody gets upset except with me. Gentlemen, what are your opinions on these electronic boxes, I'm sorry. I know yours already.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, these are things that are sold at a new car dealership. It's clean, there's no mess, very simple, couple blinking lights, and consumers get charged a lot of money for them. But the technology is not proven to work in the automobile industry. So, in my opinion, it would be.
I got everyone saying this.
You know, it really is a scam. And that is the challenge. And that's why consumers really need to do their homework, you know, that to understand what they're purchasing and really what they're getting for what they're paying.
And I've got photos from mechanics, you're one of them, that send me photos of these boxes fully corroded because the boxes themselves
Or the panel that they were employed to protect, broken apart and sitting in the middle of an engine bay as they're attached to a strut tower that's no longer attached to the car.
And prices we hear, people will be quoted 500. I think the highest I've heard is 1,600, which is taking full advantage of somebody because, and it's brutal. The technology, tell me the science.
So the idea is the body that they're put on has to be submerged in a saline solution like the ocean, so bridges and boats, or consistently attached to the ground like a statue, and they have a sacrificial zinc anode that attracts the corrosion and is replaced periodically. What we put in our car is not permanently grounded to anything. We have saline solutions dripping off it, that's salt water, but that's the corrosion. And the idea behind it is if we put an electrical charge throughout the body of the vehicle, it's going to stave off corrosion. Well, everything is grounded to the body of the vehicle, so there's consistently an electrical charge going through the body, and strangely, cars are still rotting.
So please don't buy those boxes. Please don't be sold on these for any amount of money. Take that money and it doesn't have to be Krown. Just look into other forms of rust proofing because those things, I think there should be a law. You shouldn't be allowed to take advantage of people on this stuff. I think it's like really horrible and terrible, in my opinion. You brought some products with you. One of these is my absolute favorite, salt eliminator. Can you explain, Trevor, the science behind salt eliminator?
Sure.
Because
yeah.
we're all promised this will get out salt.
Yes. Well, I mean, salt eliminator is probably, next to our main corrosion inhibitor, our most popular product, and it's our most needed product. And then the reason is because of these chlorides we're talking about on the roads, is to remove a chloride, and to give you an idea of what a chloride is, if you think about a boat, and when a barnacle attaches to a boat, it almost becomes part of the surface. It's rock-like. To remove that is very difficult. It takes about 35,000 pounds of mechanical force.
To get a barnacle off a boat?
You got it.
Seriously? Can't you just like...
Right. Well, if you have to get a hammer and a chisel, but if you try to
okay.
take like a pressure washer to it just to remove it, because what it does is it embeds right into the surface. And so that's the difference with the chlorides. And so what salt eliminators specifically designed to do is to break the bond of the chloride to the metal. And the idea is that if we can break the bond of the chloride, we can then remove it from the metal. So think about it in the winter when you have ice on your windshield and you're chipping the ice, and until you get to a point where you can peel the ice up, well, that's the way salt eliminator works with chlorides.
Okay.
And it'll separate it. Whereas, to give you an idea, like a degreaser is a higher pH and it encapsulates oil or grease to remove it. To remove chlorides, you actually need to break the bond, so it needs to be slightly acidic to be able to do it. So there is a lot of science to the product.
So when your carpet, we all get salt built up on the carpet, and boots, that's what I use it on, is my boots. I buy this stuff, and I do pay for it. I buy it for my boots because it gets the white stains off the boots. And there's a lot of things that'll work for a little while, like probably because they're making a damp or something instead, but this stuff gets the salt out. So if you have a car you really like and you want the salt gone, go to a Krown place and get some of this salt eliminators. It lasts forever. It's a big can. You don't have to buy it all the time, but it works really well.
We used to use something very similar in the world of GM when we had the Montana and Venture vans. We had salt buildup at the bottom of the vents because that's where all the heat was. So you get salt crystallizing, and we'd use a very similar product in order to break that bond so we could clean the carpet. If we didn't break the bond and we just knocked the tower off the salt, it would build itself back up.
Huh. What else over? Okay, Chris, what are your favorites over there? Oh,
What are
that
my
spot and
favorites?
stain remover is awesome on carpets in the house. I
Is
have
it good?
cats.
I just like this. This is a penetrant as well as a lubricant. So WD-40 and stuff like that is a penetrant where it gets into a rusted surface so you can break it loose, but it doesn't stick around. Something like this, you get it into that rusted surface and then it sticks around afterwards, giving you a protective coating. So you can take the bolt apart. When you put it back together, you won't come back to it the next time and find that it's hard to take apart again.
Okay, so I'm not taking bolts apart. Is there something else I should do with that?
Well, you know, people that are putting a lawnmower away for the season, your garage door, you want to spray inside the locks of your car to prevent them from icing
Kids'
up.
bike chains.
Oh, I'm liking this even more.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, it really is our most versatile product because it's both a penetrant and a lubricant. It has some rust inhibiting ability to it as well, so it really is our all-in-one product, if you like.
Okay, this is kind of cool. And there's a wash and wax thing. I don't wash cars. I don't know anyone that washes their own car anymore, frankly.
Well, you know, that comes back into people that are, say, in an urban environment, usually don't have the access to it. But I tell you, one of the great things about wash and wax, besides the very nice bubblegum smell to it, is what it does to the surface of the paint. Because it's got an additive in it that makes it look like your vehicle has not just been washed, but also waxed. So the water will actually bead up and run off, and you'll get a shine that'll last a couple of weeks.
Okay, we're going to go
after
to break,
washing
and
it.
we're going to sniff that stuff until we get back. We'll be back with more lemonade. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. Welcome back to the Lemonade Car Show, brought to you by OMVIC and Krown. I'm joined today by Trevor Hutcheson from Krown and Chris Muir, who is our mechanic all the time. A couple more products I want to get through, just because I think they're really cool. This one, you mentioned a lot of people use that worldwide. What is it?
Yeah, so this is our main rust inhibitor. So it's trade name T40, but it is a industrial strength corrosion inhibitor. And Krown, we actually manufacture it for companies like Mack and Volvo Trucks, International Freightliner. So this is a corrosion inhibitor that they would use to address electrical issues as well as frame corrosion issues.
Okay, and what's this one?
Oh, this one is our penetrant. So it's a solvent-free, non-flammable penetrant. And this is a product that is also used by manufacturers like Honda. But the reason that it's used is to displace moisture, and it's not as thick. So the nice part is using it in areas like locks or areas where you don't want to draw any dust or dirt to it. Excellent product.
So you said it's non-flammable. Does that mean you could use it inside of, say, an old distributor cap to get the moisture out of it?
You got it.
Nice.
You got one in mind? It sounds like you do.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, switching things up a little bit. A question we get all the time is, I've already got rust underneath, which if your car is a week old, you've got rust under it probably. Is it ever too late to do a drip oil treatment or any kind of rust proofing treatment?
Yeah, it can be too late. If for instance, you've got a vehicle that's, say, 8, 9, 10 years old that you're going to be getting rid of, right? And it's got rust, we may do an inspection for you, but likely we'll send you to an automotive body shop to get an idea of what it would take to repair, because Krown's not going to remove rust. Okay. And that's saying any rust proofing won't remove rust. So we want people, if you're going to spend money, spend it in the right place. But if you plan on keeping a vehicle and you're dealing with surface rust, not rust perforation, you can certainly slow down that, and then it's definitely worth continuing to or starting to spray your vehicle at that point.
Okay, one thing I've heard, you can both address this because I really don't know the answer to the question. I'm not a lawyer. There's a lot of rust proofing warranties with manufacturers that they don't consider that bubbling rust. They consider perforation rust. And so I'll look at the car and go, oh, that's rust. And it is corrosion. But the manufacturer, and I look at this warranty, never get a third-party warranty on any of this stuff. Make sure it's with the manufacturer. But sometimes that bubble stuff, they don't care. They don't think that's a big deal.
No,
True?
True. They want to see a hole through the panel before they were going to repair the panel under warranty.
See, that I think that's important to know because I would call that rust.
Right.
It is rust.
Yeah.
But it's not through.
It's not enough for us.
Yes.
Yeah. And virtually every vehicle manufacturer, their corrosion warranty is based on rust perforation.
Really?
They won't warrant against stone chips or even seam or crevice rust unless there's a hole in it. And so because of that, you may think, well, I've got a 6-year, 5-year, 8-year rust perforation warranty. The fact is, we see very little rust perforation. What we see is areas in the seams where, where it'll start to corrode. You've got thousands of spot welds in a vehicle. What these chlorides we're talking about, the moisture, where it's going to start corroding is in the wheel well, is in the spot welds, is in the seams. And so if those aren't being warranted, then, what are we doing to protect them?
A question for you. If there is this rust, and say I buy a car, it's like there's a bit of rust on a fender, to fix it. In the old days, you cut it out and you stick another piece in, and we've got our Chris Wood, our body guy, will come on and talk about this. But is it worth fixing a car?
It depends how bad the rust is and how easily the panel is replaced.
Does it move? Does rust?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is it contagious?
A general rule of thumb, even on an old panel, was wherever you can see the rust has stopped, cut another inch past it at a minimum in order to get the rust that is behind the paint already.
So it really is a cancer.
It is a cancer. It creeps, yeah.
Does it jump panels?
It doesn't generally jump panels. It has to have a contact. Okay. However, if the panel is bolted to the next one, it can abrase the paint on it and keep traveling through.
Okay, so you guys are not going to recommend somebody start rust proofing when something's a bucket of rust already?
No. People are wasting money.
And any good reputable place is not going to tell somebody to spend money.
Correct. No. Now, if you have, again, a little bit of rust on the bottom side of the car, a rust control product like this will encapsulate it and slow down its progress.
Okay.
So if you don't have perforation, if it is surface rust, get it sprayed, slow it down, make the car last as long as you can. Okay. But if you have perforation and you think this is going to be the silver bullet, it's not.
And that's one of the things I like doing on this show is I want to nail down the wording because people get told things that aren't true. So if someone says we can remove rust doing this, it's wrong. If we can inhibit it and limit new rust,
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, if somebody says we'll stop rust or eliminate rust, that's not
True.
accurate or true.
Okay.
And it's putting the wrong perception in people's mind. Most consumers never see under their vehicle, right? You know, so what we like to do is get the vehicle up on a hoist and actually show somebody what their vehicle looks like. Whether it's a car that's a week old, 3 months old, and show them you've got some surface rust. That's not structurally a problem, but to let them know, hey, it's already starting, or it's 10 years old and they've got some serious issues, because we feel that an educated consumer is the best possible consumer.
Thanks to Trevor and Chris. That's it for Lemonade today. I'm your host, Lorraine Sommerfeld. Thanks to Omvik, Krown, Hotspot Auto Parts, and Sound Insurance. We'll see you next time.